I don't know. I really truly don't know what other people preach and teach because I really truly don't spend a lot of time on the internet listening to what someone else has to say because I'm busy myself. But as far as can we heal? Yes, we can heal. But the truth is, it's not us that's doing the healing. Now, listen to me. The internet is full of unbeliever, people that unbelieve. Just point blank, period. They just flat out don't believe. How do you know they're not believers? Simply because they don't do what the Messiah says. I'll give you an example. Over in Matthew, the 10th chapter, the 7th verse, it says, Jesus says, Yeshua says, as you go, preach. All right? So we have a lot of people out here preaching today. Is that right? There are a lot of them out here preaching. Or so it seems to be that they're preaching. He says, as you go preach saying, watch this, the kingdom of Shemaim, or the kingdom of heaven, is at hand. Listen to the orders that he gave at that time, the 12 disciples. All right, commonly called the 12 emissaries. He said, heal the sick, cleanse the leopard, raise the dead, cast out devils, freely you have received and freely give. Now check this out. So let me see. That was the marching orders that the Messiah said to those who go and, if you're preaching, to do. Well, what do you find also is that you find Elijah. Elijah also had that power, but he just didn't have exclusive power. That belonged to the disease. That belonged to the Messiah himself, not us, because he had all power, and there was nothing in him that Satan could prevent whatsoever at all. Now, to us, each and every last one of us, we're given a measure of faith, and we're charged to increase that measure. So you have a lot of people that just simply, they're not believers. They do not preach the Bible. It's kind of like Christianity. They use the Bible to support their own personal doctrine, their own personal traditions, and they have to be able to debunk and discredit the Bible in order to make themselves feel like they are something unique or something. I don't know what it is. Huh? But Luke, let's go over here. Let me get my Bible pulled up here. Let's go over here so we can make sure that we do not misquote it. Let's go to Luke, the 9th chapter, 1st verse. Then he called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all devils. Look at this, to cure diseases. Now, if you got people who call themselves pastors or rayos or whatever, and they can't even in any measure do any of this, then they don't belong to the Messiah. It's just simply that simple. And he sent them to preach the kingdom of Yah. Heal the sick. Period. That's a command. So when you have people out here making hours of sermons, and the only thing they're doing is they're filling you up with their form of doctrine, their form of unbelief. And men today have gotten into the point to where they're accepting people's persons rather than what the word says, because there's some twist masters out there. And let's go over to Mark 16, and even quoting the New Testament right here. A lot of people say, well, you're always in the Old Testament. Okay, we have a balance here. We have a balanced ministry. So we go over to the New Testament, all right? It says, Mark 16:14. Afterward he appeared unto the 11, as they sat at meat, and he upbraided them with their unbelief and their hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. Watch this. Do you believe what the Messiah says, or do you believe what some perverted, twist, warped, distorted, so-called shepherd, pastor, or rayok says? You have a choice and decision. Open up your Bible, read it for yourself, because I'm telling you, when you are fond and you have any type of favoritism towards someone or something like that, They'll blind you from the word. Well, you're going to have to start using self-autonomy. Listen to what it says. I'm going to start at verse 15 from this point on. And he said unto them, this is the Messiah speaking. Remember, Yeshua, the same yesterday, today, and forever. All right. Go into all the world. Preach the gospel to every creature. And he that believeth and is baptized, what's going to happen to them? They'll be saved. They shall be saved. And he that believeth not shall be damned. Now the Messiah gives us a hallmark sign right here. Listen to what he says. Verse 17, and these signs will follow them that believe. In the original translation, it says, and these signs will accompany them that believe. Listen to what he said. You got all these people out here claiming to know his name. And they lay a lot of claims to it. Look what he says. So, if people say they believe in Yeshua, whatever name you call the Messiah, then we're going to find out right here and see if this is taking place in their life. He said, these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, and they shall speak with new tongues. Well, you got people out there that are totally opposed to casting out devils, because if you're opposed to casting out devils, then that means you are opposed to Yah's kingdom, because Yah's kingdom is opposing Satan's kingdom, the Hasatan's kingdom. And he's giving us clear-cut directions telling us what to do. And so if you got people out there spending hours telling you that you can't do this because they can't do it, that's the real problem. They can't do it. And you're listening to that garbage and mess, then you fall into the category of the blind lead the blind, and they both fall into the ditch. And you're listening to a leader of blind people. And I know that that's a personal insult for a lot of people, but the truth is, you've got to really look at this thing for what it says. This is what the Messiah said. You really, truly believe these signs are going to follow you. In his name, you're going to cast out devils, and you will speak with new tongues. Now, people got all type of theological ways, scholarly ways to actually debunk and discredit everything right here. But when you go over to the book of Acts, look at the experiences in Acts chapter 2, Acts chapter 10, and Acts chapter 19. Read those very carefully and see what happened to those people and believe what the book says. Believe what the book says. And then find those who believe what the book says. And then, you know what? You have met Yah's people. And they shall take up serpents if they drink any deadly thing shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Now listen to this, write this. Verse 19. So then after Yahshua had spoken unto them, he was received up into heaven and set on the right hand of Yah. And they went forth and preached everywhere, the master working with them, confirming the word with signs following. See, if a man is truly a man of Yah, he has power. You can always read about that in the scriptures, right? It makes no difference if people don't believe. That's totally irrelevant. You're always going to have people that oppose the word. You're always going to have religious spirits. They do have words. I will tell you this, they have a lot of words. Man, people can get on here, make videos all day long. They can preach hours on end and still not produce not 1 ounce of healing in obedience to what this book says. Sad, isn't it? Well, you've met those who are religious and antichrist, and then you've met the very small few that are real true disciples. So real disciples, they have success. They have success in healing. Now, are they successful at healing everything? No, the Messiah's the only one that does that. And even at that, the Messiah himself said, listen to what he said. He said, and the book says that he went to certain places and he couldn't do no mighty work there. What was the reason why they couldn't do no mighty work? Because of the spirit of unbelief. I mean, you got all these preachers out there today full of unbelief. And that's why you have to be careful what you're listening to. Because what it's going to do is fill you up with unbelief. You sit up there, start head bobbing and nodding. And as soon as you make an agreement, acknowledge it in your mind, with your mouth, that locks you in. That's why you have to be very careful about how you hear and what you hear, because you have a lot of people out there that are just full of envy, full of unbelief, and they're just religious. All these people are today, what we're experiencing today is religious scribes and Pharisees. You had lying prophets, false prophets then. You have lying prophets, false prophets now. You had lying pastors, false pastors then. You have lying pastors, false pastors now. What was the difference between the disciples and the scribes and Pharisees? While the disciples, they had power. The Pharisees had words. That's it. That's all they had. And it was really no challenge whatsoever at all. So it's totally up to you. You can believe what you want to believe. But remember, Pastor Darrell, I can't give you the ears to hear. Only y'all can. Only y'all can give you the ears to hear. And that, of course, is none of my business. Now, if you do hear, and y'all's called you to hear, then I'm here. And I can be your pastor. But I will tell you this, you be careful about listening, especially listening on this YouTube, this information highway called the internet, with all these different kinds of voices, and all they do is use this Bible and rip it to shreds and tear it apart and tell you what you can't do when you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. Y'all have a wonderful day. King coming.